Speaker, as a veteran, I feel compelled
In support
to rise on
or
this
in-
occasion with
In
reservations.
support or with reservations, please proceed.
Speaker, leadership is about leadership, not what branch of service you're in. When you're in the service, you're in the service. You serve at the pleasure of the President or of support of the Constitution. If this was not a national function, it would be called the State Guard. It's not called the State Guard, it's the National Guard. And if we didn't have the National Guard, we wouldn't be able to have two wars going on simultaneously in Afghanistan and in Iraq. It was the National Guard that was the pillar of those. So to say that it's a state function, I think is a little bit of a historical revisionism. Secondly, we have a Joint Chief of Staff that it doesn't belong to the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. It's the most qualified leader that the President puts in that position. And I think that's what we need to give to the governor, the most qualified leadership. Leadership is what this is all about. This is like a third world turf war that we're going into, and generally the civilian control of the military doesn't even bring this kind of stuff up. So I think we should get over with it, just let the thing die off and forget about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, Representative Fale, followed by Representative Fukumoto.
Mr. Speaker,
Still in opposition?
still in opposition, and I understand very clearly what was put forward by the representative from IAEA. When you limit where you can pick your leadership from, it just narrows the pool of access to what will serve best the people in the state of Hawaii. And I believe that when you limit options, you limit the opportunity to bring in the best and brightest from wherever they may be. And I understand that we should definitely have preference for that. Understanding the uniqueness of our community would probably best come from within our own National Guard. But why would we limit that? And I think whoever would appoint our Adjutant General would understand that clearly. But if we leave the door open where they can still go out and pick, and the mission of the National Guard has been very fluid over the past few years. The driving mission that we've had is the two wars that we've had in Afghanistan and Iraq. And probably during that time, having someone who has a better understanding of the federal nature of the armed services would have been the better person to have leading our National Guard at that time through this era of our history here in the state of Hawaii. And that mission may change in the future. Now we've closed the door on the war in Iraq. We're winding down the war in Afghanistan, and the mission will change. But then again, we don't know what's coming down the pipe, and we need to be able to be ready for whatever it is. And leaving the door open for the selection of the best leader possible, I think, is always a good idea. Even though we should probably definitely weigh in consideration someone who comes from within our own National Guard. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.